Your show rate fucking sucks and it's not your fault. However, it is your problem to solve. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly step by step what you need to implement today to double your show rate and double your close rate so you can collect way more fucking cash. And the reason I know this shit works is because I scaled my own roofing agency from nothing to over 25K a month in MRR in less than 45 days. And this is the exact process all of these guys you see on screen right now collecting $10, $15, $20,000 plus PIFs and $5,000, $10,000 retainers so you guys can do the exact same things. So without further ado, let's dive right in and jump to the fun stuff. So it does not matter if you're a setter or a closer, you need to call every single lead as soon as humanly possible to either confirm their appointment that they just booked in or to do a mini triage on leads that opted in so that you can maximize the lead flow you're getting to make the most amount of money possible. And then additionally, your offer owner or agency owner is going to absolutely fucking love you because you're making the most of every single marketing dollar that they're putting in there. I promise you, most people are not doing these very, very simple things. And the reason it's so important to actually call them as soon as possible from you personally is so they have a human connection and touch point with your company. Think about today's world, how many people are using AI and automations. People are way more likely to no-show a robot compared to someone who is an actual real person. And also, there needs to be a real genuine reason as to why they should show up in the first place. So there is value being brought to the table, because in a B2B setting, everyone knows what a fucking strategy call is. They know they're going to get pitched. So you need to make sure that you're actually bringing something to the table that's more unique or at least drives curiosity so that they have a reason to show up to the call in the first place. So I'm going to walk you through the exact scripting, whether or not someone auto books, whether or not they just opt in, and also if someone no shows or cancels. So this is literally all you need to copy and paste into your business so you can maximize your show rate and maximize your close rate. So let's just dive right into this. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to say, hey name. And the reason we say hey name instead of hey is this blah 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 is because you want to have a very familiar tone. If you say is this so and so, they're going to feel like, oh wait, this person's never called me before, or else they would already know this is me, this is who I am, right? So the tonality you want to have on this is like you're calling your best friend. Basically, you're going to be like, hey John, like super normal, super familiar tone, like they should know who you are. And then you're going to introduce yourself, and this is ultimately to make sure that people don't just hang up on you in the very first couple of seconds, because there's an open loop. They're like, who the fuck is this person? Like I probably should know who they are if they're talking to me like this. Then you're going to intro yourself real quick to remind them, hey, it's Calvin here from this company, whatever your company is, obviously, from the ad you just saw. You know, I just had a few minutes before my next meeting, but we have a call at whatever time they booked in for. I have a couple quick questions for you right now just to make sure that I'm not wasting any of your time or our time later, and ultimately to make sure we can actually help in the first place. Does that sound helpful? So the reason we're doing this is to say, hey, I'm busy. I only have a few minutes, but the reason I'm calling to remind them is for our appointment at this time. This works wonders. Like no one has ever hung up on me when they booked an appointment. I just say this line. They instantly remember why I'm calling. And ultimately the reasoning I have right here where I say, hey, I have a couple questions for you now to make sure we're not wasting any of your time or our time is crucial, because this is putting us on the same level of authority. If I say, hey, I am calling you to ask you these questions to make sure we're not wasting any of your time, you're building them up and putting them on the pedestal, which should never be the case. You should always be equal to them or above them. And in this case, we want to be equal to them to just lower their guard and make them feel okay with being open. And it's always positioned in a way to make sure that it's in their benefit. So if we're saying, hey, the reason I'm calling is to make sure I'm not wasting your time, they're incentivized to answer the questions in the first place. And then also, again, saying or our time means that we're on the same level. And then after this, you're going to say, hey, I want to make sure that we can actually help. So there's justifiable reasons as to why you're asking questions. Then you're going to say, hey, does that sound helpful? No one has ever told me that that's not helpful to see if we're a good fit, so we're not wasting each other's time. And then you're immediately going to go into it. They're going to say, okay, cool. Where are you located, by the way? And obviously this can be nuanced depending on what type of business you have. If you have an agency or an info offer, this is where you put in your qualifying questions. So for me, when I had my roofing agency, and this is the exact framework we use to scale from 0 to 25K a month in MRR, more in less than 45 days. And this literally doubled our show rate and 3x our close rate. So this is where we qualify, because we literally could not work with roofing companies that were in the same city because they were obviously conflicting businesses. So if you don't have this, then you can just skip this part. But if you have qualification questions, this is where you should be asking those up front, so you can instantly DQ them. So you know if they're not a good fit, you can get that right out the way and be super efficient with your time to either take them off the calendar and then go and replace them with someone you can actually sell and is qualified. So you're going to say, hey, where are you located? Okay, cool. Reason I ask, because we only work with certain roofing companies in specific cities. Obviously, we don't want to be working with someone on the same street. So that's great to hear. Now, what services do you guys provide? The reason we go straight here is to actually demonstrate our expertise. So it doesn't matter what type of niche you're in. This is where you're going to replace what it is for you. For roofing, to showcase that we can speak their language and they actually know like what we're talking about, we would say, hey, are you guys doing insurance, retail, commercial? And this was a qualifying question, but also showed we're not like every other agency, because every other company that's calling them is just going to say the same basic questions. No one's actually going to speak their language like this. And also, we couldn't work with commercial companies. We only wanted to work with retail or insurance and get them residential roofs. So this was like an important qualifying question for us. If they're just looking for commercial, then we were just not going to take the call because it's not part of our service delivery. And then we're going to ask them, hey, do you guys primarily focus on asphalt, shingles, metal, to actually get the like materials that they're using? Because this will also give us an idea of like what their fulfillment would be like. And also, it's really just to demonstrate that we speak their language, like we know what they're talking about in the first place. So most people aren't even going to ask this because they don't understand the roofing world, but some people only focus on like metal roofs or tile roofs or asphalt shingles, right? So we always ask, what is the thing that they're doing? So if you're doing like e-com, for example, are you using Clavia for your emails, like as far as the software goes? Anything you can do to demonstrate that you speak their language and you're familiar, you work with clients all the time, they're going to feel like you're an expert because you're asking good questions that ultimately give you context on how their business is being ran. So obviously plug this in for your niche. And then we're going to ask is, hey, what's your APV? And you say it like this so that they're going to ask you, what is that? Pretty much everyone I talked to had no idea what I meant when I said APV. They're like, what is that? And think about it. If you're teaching someone what something is, who has a higher authority? It's going to be you, obviously. And so if they're like, hey, what's your APV? They're going to be like, what is that? And you're just going to say average project value or average job value, AJV, like whatever your niche calls the thing that they do. So if you're an e-com, you're going to say AOV, average order value, right? In this context, because we're working with roofers, it was average project value because that's how they refer to their job. So then you're just going to clarify and say, yeah, just your average project value. Like how much on average, do you typically charge for full roof replacement? And they would say, oh, yeah, it's like, maybe 20K, 25K, whatever it is, right? The point of doing this math is to instantly financial qualify. So we're going to find out ahead of time if they can afford our services and ultimately how much we can charge them in the first place. One of the things that we do at Agency Closers is making sure that people are steadily increasing their prices, and you're able to increase your prices if they can afford it in the first place. So if someone's doing 100K a month, we can easily charge $3,000, $5,000 a month for our services because they have more than enough funds to do so. So again, we're going to find out, hey, what's your average project value? And then how many roofs are you guys doing on a monthly basis? So if you're an e-com, what's your AOV? And then how many orders are you guys doing on a monthly basis? Then you're going to be able to instantly know how much revenue they do, because if you know how many sales they get on average and ultimately how much they charge each customer on average, then you're going to know how much revenue that they generate. And then you're going to find out, okay, cool, this is what they're saying their average is, but you're going to fact check them real quick and say, okay, cool, what'd you guys do last month? And either it's going to be way lower, way higher, whatever it is. And you can even ask, hey, what'd you guys do the month before that, to see, does their average monthly numbers they just told you actually track with what they did the last 60 days. And then you're going to say, cool, thanks for the clarification. So again, this is financially qualifying and then proving that you are an expert in the space. Then you're going to say, hey, just give me kind of a rough idea on what you're looking to accomplish and what your goal is to make sure we're aligned here. So it's very direct, but it ultimately is to make sure that we get a surface level goal they're trying to accomplish, because whatever someone wants or needs is what they don't already have, or else why would they want it in the first place? So if we know what someone doesn't have, we know where their pain lies. And that's the whole point of asking this question, to actually find out where is their pain, and we can use this as ammo on the actual sales call to build a bigger gap to create more urgency for them to actually move forward. Now, after you get a service level goal here, and by the way, the only thing you need to focus on is just getting a tangible goal, meaning it has to be like an actual number. Yeah, we want to get to 24 placements a month. We want to get to 200K a month. Whatever it is, it has to be a tangible number that they're trying to get to. And then you're going to probe more into that on the actual sales call. After you get a tangible goal, you're going to find out, what have you guys done in the past for marketing? So you're getting clarity on different solutions that they have tried to see how aware are they with the solutions that are out there. And then we're going to find out if they're spending money on ads, how much are they currently spending? So we're just getting more context on our situation. And the only reason we're finding this out is to literally financially qualify and see what their goal is to make sure that we can actually solve their problem. And obviously, if everyone's goal is going to be to make more money, you can pretty much help everyone. We just need to find out, hey, can they afford our services? And ultimately, we need to position ourselves as an expert by asking these questions. So after we do that, we're going to say, gotcha, that's perfect. So I appreciate you taking my call again. I do have to get going here briefly, but good news is I feel like we're going to be able to help you. We don't work with anybody in whatever city they're in right now, so that's perfect. And then this is where curiosity drives in that I was talking about. We also have a promotion going on right now, and we only have about, let me see real quick. So I would literally check, because what we would do is essentially we'd only take on a certain amount of clients per month, especially in the very beginning as we were just dialing in fulfillment. You can do the same thing. So the reason I like to do this is because it creates an element of scarcity. But then if you pause here and you actually check how many slots you have available for your special offer, and by the way, your special offer could literally just be like, if you pay in full, you get this discount. The reason that we do this is to drive curiosity. If you're like, let me check here real quick. We actually only have about, let me see. So we only have 2 slots left. So again, I'm going to walk you through that promotion on our call in great detail, but I do have to get going right now. So it just drives enough curiosity to the point where they're like, what special offer is he talking about? So it drives, oh my gosh, I should show up to see what he's looking at. Even if they're shopping around, they're going to be like, hey, Calvin said he has this special promotion. I want to find out what that is before I move forward with you. Again, if they're shopping around. And then also they're going to be more likely to show up because of the conversation that you just had here. So you're going to say, I'll walk you through that promotion on our call in great detail, to just pre-handle them being like, well, just tell me about it here. You're saying, I'm busy. Like, I have to get going. That's what the call is for. So the next thing you're going to say right here is, oh, by the way, did you receive that video that goes over exactly who we are, what we do, and what our chat will be about? And more often than not, they're going to say no, because they just opted in. So you're going to make sure they actually receive that. And the reason that we ask it here is because we need to increase force consumption, meaning you have to have pre-call material that's informing people on who you are, what you do, what makes you unique, and ultimately what they're going to get out of the conversation on their actual call with you. Because if there's no value of showing up, people are way more likely to not show up, right? So we need to convey what value they're going to get out of actually showing up to the call. And what we've seen work really well is doing this promotion here that we're talking about, like seeding curiosity. But then also we can say, hey, we've worked with X amount of companies in your exact niche. We know exactly what it takes to scale to where you're trying to go. Either way, whether or not we work together, I'm going to give you crystal clarity how you can slingshot your way there. I'll give you a bunch of value and tips so that you can actually get there as fast as possible. So positioning it like that, where you're saying, hey, you're basically saying, I'm an expert. I work with everyone ever that are already in the position that you want to be in. I'm going to show you exactly how they already got there so that you're going to have clarity no matter what happens. So there's value to them showing up to the actual call. And then from here, what you're going to do is literally text them the actual link to your pre-call VSL. And you're going to say, hey, no worries. You should have received a text just now. Did that come through? And you're literally going to walk them through tapping on your text with the link. They're going to open the video. They're going to hit play on the video. And they're going to say, sweet, put that video in 1.5x speed. You'll be able to knock that out in like 5 minutes. So I'm going to walk you through the exact scripting right here. You're going to say, perfect. Go ahead and save that number for me real quick so you know it's not spam. That way they're actually saving you as a contact. So, if the call is the next day and you're going to confirm them the morning of, what you should be doing, you're going to make sure that they actually pick up because they saved you as a contact. You're not some random person that's spam because they just had a great conversation with you. So you're having them save you as a contact. Then you're going to say, sweet. Now tap on that video real quick. I want to make sure it works. Cool. And then press play. Is it working? Sweet. Can you hear it? Awesome. And by the way, do you have like 5 more minutes? And pretty much most people are going to say, yeah, I got like 5 minutes. If they don't, you're going to say, hey, when do you think you'll be able to go through this video? You're going to get a time where they clearly state when they're going to be able to go through that video. You're going to say, hey, can you shoot me a text once once you complete that, so I know you're all ready to rock. And the reason we say it like that is because we need a good reason to follow up if they don't shoot us a text back. So if he says, hey, I'm going to watch it, later today at like 5 p.m. Sweet. Shoot me a text once you watch that, so I know you're all good to go. And then let's say for whatever reason they don't shoot you a text. Now you have a really good reason to follow up. And I always like to follow up with some form of humor where you're just like, hey, did you get abducted by aliens? Or like, what happened? I didn't hear from you, right? So they're gonna laugh. They're like, because obviously roofers or any type of B2B person is more than likely to be honest with you about whatever's going on when you're just having a somewhat playful, fun conversation. So anytime you incorporate humor in such a serious setting, again, they're gonna like you and they'll be way more likely to feel bad for no showing you. So every little thing that we do here is for a reason. And the reason that we're also having them shoot us a text is because in following up with them is because we need to make sure and hold them accountable to actually going through the pre-call video. And so after that, you're going to say, sweet, put that video on 1.5x speed. This is if they have 5 more minutes. And then you're going to say, you'll be able to knock that out in like 5 minutes right now. Sound good? And you're going to say it very assumptively, like they're able to go through it right now. And if your video, is like 5 minutes or whatever, 6-7 minutes, whatever it is, you can just have them put it in 1.5x speed and they'll be able to crank it out really fast and get crystal clarity on who you are, what we do, what value they're going to get out of showing up to the call. And then that way you're actually increasing the amount of consumption so that people are way more informed on what you do, how you do it, and ultimately the value that they're going to get out of showing up to the call in the first place, so that you have a good reason to follow up. Because if you don't hear from them, then you're able to call them and disarm with humor, hey, did you get abducted by aliens? Like, what happened? Or did you get bored? And they're like, no, I didn't get bored. So either way, you're just following up, holding these guys accountable, making sure they actually consume the video. So again, they're way more informed and you're going to have way higher show rate and close rate. So after you do that, you're just going to say, and by the way, is there anyone else on the management side, or are you the one running the show over there and calling all the shots? And they're going to say whether or not they have a partner or not, so that you can pre-handle that and make sure that they also show up to the call if there's a partner. And then you're just going to say, sweet, look forward to our call at X time. Let me know if anything comes up or if you have any questions, but I'm looking forward to our next convo. And if you want to, you can even add in like, a little piece of humor that I've seen like a lot of people laugh at. It's just like stupid humor. Like I'll be like, hey, sweet, looking forward to our call at 3 p.m. Let me know if anything comes up, like if there's a zombie apocalypse or something, and like just let me know ahead of time, because I know how things can be, with your guys' profession. And so if people are roofers, for example, a lot of them are on job sites and random shit can come up. I always like to disarm with humor. So again, they're just going to feel so much worse by no showing or not even notifying you ahead of time if they can't make the call for whatever reason. So anything we can do to like insert humor while also, again, just showing that we are an expert, we know what we're talking about, and we're not here to waste anyone's time. We're very direct. They're going to appreciate this process very, very much. Now, this is the exact thing you're going to say if someone auto books. So very simple, but the whole point is to pre-handle a partner, show them value and that you're an expert, have a human personal connection and touch so that they're way more likely to feel bad for no showing, and then also forcing consumption for your pre-call material so that they are very, very informed on what you do, who you are, and why any of that's important in the first place. Now, for the opt-in or confirmation triage scripting, the only thing that's different is the introduction, and the rest is the same here for the actual process of triaging them, because it's going to be the same thing. We're just financially qualifying. You can add in obviously whatever questions that you need to qualify people even more, or any questions you feel would just demonstrate your expertise. But what you're going to say instead is, hey John, I just had a few minutes to get back to you just now. It's Calvin over here at Skyline's office. Did any of my staff reach out to you yet? And so instantly, even if you have staff or not, it just makes you sound like you have a way bigger company. You could have a fucking VA, right? And just saying like, did any of my staff reach out to you? So again, it's increasing your authority, and they're always going to say like no if they just opted in, especially. And you say, oh really? Well, I saw that you opted in to possibly get whatever they want, whatever the outcome is they want, to get more replacements, to get more installs, to get, a higher LTV, like whatever it is your ads are saying in your messaging, and that the outcome they want, we want to make sure that's being positioned here. So it looks like you opted in about possibly getting more replacements. Have you found what you're looking for, or are you still looking? And pretty much every time they're going to say they're still looking because they just opted in to your funnel. So they're going to say, yeah, I'm still looking for it. Okay, cool. Well, I just have a few questions for you right now, just to make sure we're not wasting any of your time or our time, and to make sure we can actually help. So it's going to be the same exact intro. The only thing that's different here, again, like I said, is these first 3 lines. So it's super easy to implement. As soon as you learn the framework and this overall process, literally all you change is these first 2 questions right here, or first 3 actually. So this is if someone no-shows or cancels here as well. Someone no-shows, same thing, super simple. Hey John, I just had a few minutes to get back to you now. It's Calvin over over here at Skyline's office. Did any of my staff reach out to you yet? And they're like, no. Yeah, but I believe there's like a scheduling issue because you booked onto our calendar, about, what was it, 3 days ago to get help with bringing in more roof replacements. So was there like a scheduling issue or what kind of happened there? Every time they're going to be like, oh yeah, like I was on a job site, or, oh, I just forgot about it. Like whatever it is, you're then going to say, no worries, reschedule the appointment. And then the most important thing is to ask this question: is there any reason whatsoever you wouldn't be able to make that time? I just don't want to, I want to make sure this doesn't happen again. And so that way they have to go double check the time you just agreed to make sure that there is absolutely no reason they wouldn't be able to show up to that appointment. And so that way you're double checking and verifying that they're going to be able to show up to that appointment. So that's the exact scripting that you're going to use, whether or not someone auto books, or if they just opt in, if they no show or they cancel. It is so simple. You just need to implement it and you will have a way higher show rate and a way higher close rate. I promise you. And now I'm going to go into the actual SMS templates and email sequences that you can implement as well, so that you guys can, again, continue to maximize your show rate and close rate. So this is the overall flow that I like to use, and that, again, I personally use, that worked really well. So just for context, ideally you're texting from your iPhone, because everyone, as we know, is going to respond to blue text messages. Ideally if you have Send Blue, that's awesome too, so that your whole sales team or yourself can use this. And ideally you're doing like at least 50, 100K a month where it makes sense, because Send Blue, if I'm not mistaken, is like 1,500 a month. So obviously it's an investment, but it's definitely worth it to increase show rate and, again, close rate, because then all of your automated messages can also be sent from a blue text as well. So it accomplishes everything that I talked about with this, which is sick. And then here, if someone is responding to the CRM, then you can also just keep it there if you're not obviously using Send Blue. And then I also personally believe it's always best to just use their CRM plus your personal. So if you have automated messages coming from your CRM and then you also text them through your personal, it's, again, still going to feel more personalized. And when people see the blue text message, way more likely to show up to a real person. And so, again, generally in a B2B setting, every single message that's sent via blue text messages is ideal, because typically you guys aren't going to have like an obscene amount of lead volume, depending on what like niche you're in and all that. But generally speaking, you want to make sure you're as personalized as possible with your outreach to, again, increase that show rate. And so here's the actual text messages you're going to send and why. So you're going to say, hey name, whatever obviously your name is, closer here, from company name, or your influencer if you have some form of organic for your company as well. If you don't, just say your company, because it's what they're going to remember from the ads. My assistant, or whoever your setter is, let me know you scheduled a time with me today about getting more full roof replacements, ... Wanted to personally get you my number before then. And so the reason we do this as well is I purposely misspell a word, and this can be automated. So I purposely misspell a word and then correct it right after. So I send these back to back. So it seems like I manually typed this message out and then corrected it. So this is sauce for making people feel like, again, it is more personalized. Same thing for your second text here. Looks like setter also texted through the video that breaks down what we do, who we are, and what our chat will be about, so you have crystal clarity, and ultimately we have the most productive conversation possible. Did you end up making some time to review that so that we can make the most of our meeting? And then you're going to send this text, and after that one you're going to say, referring to this one, then you're going to relink the actual pre-call via cell, and this is going to be sent literally back to back, like right after they come in. This is going to happen within, I'll write it down right here, within 15. And then right here, if a prospect does not respond, this is the first text you're going to send. And again, this is after your first hour, after you send these first text messages here. 1 hour later, you're just going to send this. Not sure if you missed my last message name, but are we still good to go for our Google Meets or Zoom meeting tomorrow at whatever time, and then their time zone. If they do respond, then 2 hours later, or actually if they continue to not respond, you're just going to say, again, did you miss my last message? And then whether or not they are responsive, you're going to text them this pre-call meeting homework, so that you're going to say, hey, name, just circling back with you. Did you end up setting aside some time to go through those email resources so we're prepared for our Zoom meeting tomorrow or later today? So as you can see, all we're doing is just saying, hey, want to get you my number, text you about that video. Every single text, every touch point is just getting them to consume the pre-call video, because it's meant to answer any questions that they have and ultimately warm these guys up on what you do, how you do it, who you are, why any of that's important, why they should show up to the call, what makes you unique. All these questions are going to be top of mind, and we need to pre-handle these things as much as possible by forcing consumption. People just need enough information to make an informed decision. The reason so many people have uncertainty is because they don't have enough information to make a sound decision most of the time. Because if you have enough information, you can make the best decision. Think about pretty much all objection handling. All we're doing is sharing a different perspective that helps them look at their situation situation from a different point of view so they can make better decisions. If someone, for example, just says like really simple weight loss, right? I don't have time to go to the gym because, I have a wife and kids and I'm running a business. That's one perspective that they have. But if they can look at it from a different perspective from, oh, actually, it's not about having more time, it's just about making more time, then you can change their belief. And all they need is more information, because most people don't actually realize that because they've been telling themselves a story for so long. So that's what I mean. Information is king, especially before the sales call, because if they have no idea who you are, what you do, how you do it, why that's important, they are way more likely to no-show and just be totally unresponsive because they have no idea about any of those things. And they're going to totally forget why they opted in the first place. And so the last text message you're going to send here, or second to last one, is the Zoom link itself. You're going to say, this is the morning of. So you're going to say morning name, just your name here from company, reaching out to you, let you know I've emailed you the Zoom link for our time later today. Sent it to your email. Did you receive that in your inbox? So we're good to go. So again, just prompting, making sure these people are responsive and they actually receive these things. And then this is the sauce right here to get people to show up. This is super underrated. So what you're going to do is essentially edit the calendar name, the like actual event name itself. And you're going to either use an emoji that's green or red. The reason that we have this in the first place is to make it stand out in their email. Pretty much every email, if you go look at your inbox, all of it is just a bunch of words, and it's really easy to just pretty much glance over everything. But if you have this like bright emoji, they're far more likely to actually see it in the first place and then click on it when they see unconfirmed in brackets and then their name and the event name. So that's the whole point of this. So if the prospect does not respond within 4 hours of the appointment, you're going to mark the event as free and update your Google Calendar event. And I'm gonna show you guys how to do that right now. All right, so all you're gonna do when you come in here, this is just one of my students, you can see, but all you're gonna do is copy this message here and just paste it. And you're gonna have their name, right? So you're gonna say, in this case, is Jordan X, your name, and then your event name. So whether that's, fancy audit, swag money, money, whatever your title is. So that way they get the emoji in their email. And the way you get this sent out to them as well, you're going to mark it as free, by the way, as well. And the reason we mark it as free is because it allows you to double book appointments there. And even if obviously you're having like ads running or whatever it is, that slot is now available for them to book over this appointment. And we don't want to cancel it because there's still a chance that they can show up. But if they get an email that's like your appointment's canceled, now there's a 0% chance that they really show up, right? Or not zero, but obviously very, very low. But we don't want to cancel it because there is a chance that they still show up. So in that event, we just want to maximize our slot utilization, meaning that no matter what, at that time, someone is going to show up to the call. And so when you hit mark as free and save, this message is going to pop up where it says, hey, would you like to update the actual person? And you're just going to say, hey, name, whatever it is. You don't seem like the kind of person to ghost. Are you okay? Please let us know if you're still good to go for our appointment. I appreciate your prompt response. So you're just literally going to use this, and I'll put this here as well for you guys. So that way you'll just hit send here, and you're using identity, right? You don't seem like the kind of person to just ghost. Are you okay? And blaming it on something external so that they feel safe to respond and don't feel bad about it. And then here we're saying, hey, just please let us know like you're still good for your appointment. I appreciate your prompt response. And we're just already reinforcing that they're gonna respond fast. So they're gonna feel really bad if they ghost us, but then also if they don't respond quickly. So now that you guys know how to do that, the last text you're gonna send them here when you mark the event as free is, hey name, haven't seen or hear back from you in regard to your upcoming appointment. There's been a miscommunication or oversight somewhere. Please let us know. Otherwise, we'll need to elevate to someone else from our waiting list and cancel the appointment. How would you like to proceed from here? This is the last text you'll send them to just basically say literally what this is saying, which is we got to elevate this to someone else on our wait list, which again increases your authority and ultimately makes them as a like last resort to respond. And that's all we're going to do for the text messages. So super simple. So now going over to emails, they're even simpler as well. There's only two main ones that I'm going to go over here so you guys have clarity on them. These are just the essential ones. And ultimately what you can do in your pre-call video as well is pre-handle the most common objection you're getting statistically. And the way you can do this after you cover who you are, how you get results, why they should care, what value they're going to get from the call, why they can't do this on their own, etc. You're going to cover the most common objections. So let's say in B2B, it's skepticism, it's fear, they've been burned before, right? So all you need to really say is something along these lines where you're like, we're both business business owners, I'm sure we have both gone through similar experience at some point where you've gone through a previous agency or a service and it didn't work out as planned. But that led me to a trap in my business where I was being burned twice. Now, if you're like, what do you mean by that? What I mean by that is the first time I worked with a company, and I won't say who it is, but they had not a service that I actually thought I was signing up for. So I got burned by them, but ultimately I didn't realize this until later. They were actually burning me twice because they burned me the first time and they took my time, they took my energy, my effort going into it, but they burned me the second time because I still didn't get the help I needed because of that bad experience. And so I'd hate to see you guys fall into this trap because I almost got this sick feeling in my stomach when I actually calculated how much it cost me an opportunity cost by not fixing this sooner. And so what I did is I just saw like, hey, if this problem was fixed in my business, I would be making an extra $100K a month. And because of that bad first experience, I didn't actually get the help I needed again for another 6 months. So it ended up costing me over $600,000 by letting them burn me twice. And I hate to see you guys fall into that trap. So that's how you're able to just pre-handle it with storytelling, is by saying something along those lines where you're relating it to them and saying, hey, we're alike, to build that connection, and ultimately also help them realize opportunity costs by letting that level of skepticism realize they're getting burned twice by that same company. So they're way more likely to not let them burn them twice when they realize how much it's actually costing them in reality. Now, to go into the actual emails here, super straightforward. This is a subject line. You're just going to say important. I like to use these emojis here. Pre-meeting email from closer for the prospect's name. Hey name, Calvin here. I'm the head of partnerships. Looking forward to our meeting at day and time. All we want to make sure is that you're just not driving. You have good Wi-Fi. It's a Zoom call, and it's required that you go through the pre-call material. So second one's fairly simple too. Subject line is just pre-meeting email from your name. Email confirmation required. Hey name, same exact thing here. Very, very straightforward, but we're just making sure they reply yes to confirm that they're good for the call. So super straightforward. You can literally copy these emails as templates. Same thing with these SMS messages, but this is literally all you need to follow to maximize your show rate and to maximize your close rate so that you can get way better results in your business. All I want you guys to remember is that information without implementation is meaningless. So implement this so that you guys can double your business and double your show rates, double your close rate, so you guys can get way better results and make way more fucking money.